Feday.email, you don't need to compromise faith to participate in the modern world. Instead of pushing ads and invasive practices that conflict with Catholic values, we built Feday to reclaim technology for Christendom. When you use Feday.email, you declare your commitment to technology that defends Christian tradition. Join Feday.email today and use technology to advance Christendom.
When we think of the crisis rocking the church, the crisis that has characterized life in the church for Catholics for decades upon decades, going back to the time of Pope Leo XIII, if not earlier than that, we tend to think of the toll that the laity face, good priests face at the hands of wicked bishops, the price paid by good religious who are silenced and often their religious houses just disbanded and their property seized by wicked bishops. We don't tend to think too much about what happens to good bishops, the ones who aren't just overtly canceled. We saw what happened with Bishop Strickland. He was canceled for speaking the truth. If in an unelegant way at times, one could criticize him for on prudential grounds, maybe, but nothing he said was untrue, and he paid the price for it. Perhaps it's not a question of prudence at all. Maybe what we sometimes call lack of prudence is more of a self-reflection, a desire, or rather a criticism that that bishop or whoever that figure was dared to have the courage to say things that were true when many of us don't have the courage to say things that are true, and we're unwilling to pay the price for saying true things. And this is relevant today because that price that good bishops will face when they speak out can come in another form. They might not get canceled. They might just get worn down. We have a story today of one of the few decent bishops in Germany who couldn't take it anymore. He couldn't take the German Synodal Way anymore, which is just naked heresy, schism, and dare I say it, apostasy. They are trying to redefine Catholicism itself, destroy the hierarchical nature of the church in Germany, and replace it with a feel-good, group hug, kumbaya, worldly pseudo-religion. That's what they're trying to do. And one bishop couldn't take it anymore. He quit. Please pray for this bishop. He probably will need your prayers. We go, unfortunately, here to The Pillar with this headline: German bishop resigns citing inner fatigue, synodal way doubts. Bishop Hanke questioned the extent to which the church in Germany proving spiritually fruitful. He's questioning the institution of the church in Germany itself and if it's spiritually fruitful for the people and for himself. That's a nice way of saying, is this church in Germany actually the church? It's a hard thing for many people to ask, a hard question. But with most of those bishops, the Botzings and the rest of them, they're not preaching Catholicism. They're preaching something else. They are demanding that the church conform to the wisdom of the world on all matters of the flesh, of course. With heretics, it's always the flesh, but on other things too. And they want to put laity in charge of things, decentralize authority in the church, have the laity choose who gets to be priests and bishops. It's not the church, what they're doing. It's something else. It's the ape of the church of prophecy. And I don't think the establishment of the ape of the church from prophecy, Fulton Sheen cited it, many mystics said that in the days leading to the arrival of the man of sin, a false church would emerge that looked by all accounts to be the Catholic Church, but wasn't, but had subsumed the Catholic Church and was trying to dismantle it behind the scenes and would ultimately fail in that attempt. But it would be one of the markers of the end times. I don't think the attempt to establish that across the wide church has stopped. There's no indication of that. And this bishop couldn't handle that. So pray for him. He needs your prayers. From the article, quote, A German bishop resigned 5 years before the typical retirement age Sunday, citing inner fatigue and expressing doubts that the country's synodal way will lead to true renewal. Bishop Gregor Maria Hanke, 70, stood down as the Bishop of Eichstätt in Bavaria, southern Germany, June 8th, saying he hoped to serve as a pastor, be known as Father Gregor, and no longer wear episcopal insignia. Hanke was one of 4 German diocesan bishops to criticize the country's controversial synodal way, which called for sweeping changes to Catholic teaching and practice, and to reject plans to establish a national synodal body with extensive powers over the church in Germany. Hanke, a Benedictine monk who has led the diocese with more than 350,000 Catholics since 2006, told diocesan employees in a June 8th letter that his decision to resign had a long history. I am now in my 19th year as Bishop of Eichstätt, and in terms of years of service, ranked 3rd among the diocesan bishops of the German Bishops' Conference, wrote Hanke, who became the nation's youngest bishop when he was appointed to Eichstätt at the age of 52. However, I do not want to hide the fact that after many challenges, scandals, and unresolved conflicts, which were not lacking during my time as bishop, I feel an interior fatigue. Hanke took a break from his duties due to surgery in 2024, noted that crises during his tenure included a dispute over his decision to block the appointment of a president at the Catholic University of Eichstätt-Ingolstadt, a financial scandal that caused enormous reputational damage in our diocese, and clerical McCarrick things. He said he had also been deeply concerned in recent years about the question of the spiritual fruitfulness of the church in our country. The Catholic Church in Germany is well organized, with its structures and committees, and has many competent employees. Through its social structure, it continues to prove influential. Despite the decline in the number of believers, it is a significant social player, he wrote. Given the upheaval and decline, we are necessarily developing pastoral programs and concepts for the future. But to what extent is our system of the church in Germany proving spiritually fruitful, so that it promotes a new beginning rooted in the power of the lived gospel and serves the sanctification of the world? He said he had been moved by Pope Francis's 2019 letter to Catholics in Germany. The Pope provided inspiration for a spiritual path that he advised our church in Germany to take, rather than one that revolves around itself, he wrote. According to Francis, renewal means living from the freshness of the gospel. He spoke of the bite of the gospel, which must be felt, and of the primacy of evangelization, which begins with evangelizing oneself so that the new life in a genuine spirit inspired by the gospel can be effective. He suggested that Pope Francis's letter captured the true heartbeat of the church, which Hanke said he had encountered through the priests and lay people of his diocese and in the liturgy. Being close to people as a pastor, talking to them about the questions of faith and life, preparing young people to receive the sacraments, and offering spiritual guidance, this is what I would like to achieve in the remaining, and I hope vigorous years of my life as Father Gregor, in the second row in a pastoral area outside our diocese, before I return later to my monastic community, he said. Without prejudice to my episcopal ordination, I no longer wish to wear pontificals and insignia, nor to perform any pontifical functions unless my successor occasionally requires support in his episcopal ministry. End quote. He quit. He's not exactly the most hardline conservative bishop by any stretch. He positively cited Pope Francis, after all, quoted him extensively in his understanding of the gospel. And yet, Francis's understanding of the gospel was so at odds with the German Synodal Way that he had to walk away from his ministry as a bishop to live out his final years of ministry as a priest. Remarkable, especially when you consider that Francis's understanding of the gospel wasn't exactly Catholic either. That's how far off the deep end the church in Germany has gone. And Bavaria, ladies and gentlemen, is one of the better places in Germany. Bavaria is one of the most Catholic places where you could still find actual Catholicism being practiced. It's too much for him. What does it say about the other bishops? What does it say about the 3 remaining good bishops? Because there were only 4 who really criticized the German Synodal Way publicly. What does it say about the other 3? I ask you to pray for that bishop. He certainly needs the help. Pray for the church in Germany. Curious what you have to say about this, so let me know in the comments, please. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't. It absolutely helps. So does sharing this on social media. That helps too. And as always, pray for the church. I'm Anthony Stine. Ave Maria.